Well, let the revolution begin. The Handmaid's Tale is back this week with the 8th episode of Season 6, and this one had me feeling all sorts of emotions. We got to see High Commander Wharton and Serena's wedding, Wharton showing his true colours and revealing what he's actually like after literally carrying Serena through the threshold. We saw Aunt Lydia battling with herself on what the right thing to do was, and Commander Bell quite literally getting the fate that he definitely deserved. So with that, let's dive into the episode and break down all that there was to take away from it. Here is The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 Episode 8 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. June Osborne. During this episode, we saw June pretty much leading the uprising and putting back on the clothes of a handmaid. In her own words, the clothes that they were given to enslave them were now being used to liberate them because the uprising was able to happen right under the commander's noses. There were a few key moments that I thought were great with June in this episode, and one was of her cementing her side and truly walking away from Nick. We saw her catch glimpses of him throughout the episode, but it was when she was behind him on the table and she chose to walk past him where I felt like that was her truly making up her mind, and it was her symbolically deciding to walk away. Especially after what he did in saving himself and allowing many of the girls to be killed in Jezebel's. June orchestrated the plan with the handmaids in receiving the blades and then also branching off to kill the commanders that they were enslaved by. And with June splitting off and going to Commander Bell's home, we saw him quite literally die in a brutal fashion. Through the eye, which felt appropriate because he was harming Janine, who obviously has one eye. I liked the abruptness of it, but I kinda wanted it to be a bit more dramatic and maybe see some kind of fight taking place. But it was still satisfying seeing that happen to Commander Bell. Janine looked relieved after his death, and simply saying thanks with a smile showed that sense of freedom that she now had. June and Serena's relationship is one that was on track at the start of the season, and we saw that Serena made out to the handmaids that June forgave her for all that happened, when in actual fact she didn't. And in seeing June's reaction to Serena's speech, it was telling of the fact that she clearly thought that Serena was just as deluded as she thought she was. The speech that June gave to Aunt Lydia when she appeared at the right time to save the girls, placing the blame on her and bringing to light that she was an enabler, was one of the most powerful moments in the entire episode. I'll delve into it more when I speak about Aunt Lydia in the next section, but what I will say is in having June's inner monologue being what we heard as the episode opened and as the episode drew to a close, it allowed us to truly understand her mindset, and with herself and the rest of the girls running for what looked like the border, I think we're going to see them escape, and with the commanders weakened due to many of them being killed, we could now see the army make its way in to face Gilead head-on in its wounded state. Aunt Lydia. Aunt Lydia's journey throughout this season is one which has actually been really powerful, but also frustrating to watch. Her care for Janine is something that essentially allowed her to see the light and also allow herself to be exposed to what the commanders are actually like, and that the teachings that she put upon the girls were what ruined their lives and subjected them to horrific conditions. Rather than it being something for the good of God like she always positioned it, Aunt Lydia catching a glimpse of June was what ultimately made her think that something suspicious was going on at the wedding. But it was later on down the line when she saw that none of the handmaids ate their cake because it was laced with poison that would render anybody that ate it unconscious, where she went to the Red Center and wanted to make sure that all of the girls were there. I actually found this scene to be one of the most tense of them all in the episode. More so than the passing of the blades with them nearly being caught in the church, and also more so than when Serena wanted to speak with the handmaids and when June was there. This was the deciding factor on whether or not the revolution would happen, and with Aunt Lydia seeing the girls still all dressed in red, she demanded to know what was going on. It took June Osborne delivering such a powerful speech and placing all of the responsibility on Aunt Lydia's shoulders by making her see that she was an enabler of this and that she needed to have sympathy for the way that they were treated. And because of the beatings and manipulation that she inflicted, they needed to have the opportunity to fight back. Because they were actual people, not these holy vessels as they were made to believe. The choral music paired with Janine walking in and Aunt Lydia being told, "You did this," it actually had me welling up. You could see the pain that the girls were in, the fear that was in their eyes over what could happen next. And with Aunt Lydia saying, "I'm sorry he hurt you, dear," that was the final straw before I had a tear going down my cheek. It was such a powerful moment, and we finally saw Aunt Lydia and Janine embracing each other, something that Lydia had wanted to do this entire season. Seeing Aunt Lydia finally acknowledging that she knew that the way that they were treated was wrong marked a new mindset that we could well see for her in the Testaments when the spin-off gets released, as it's been confirmed that she's going to be in it. Aunt Lydia finally took on the responsibility and knew that she was partly to blame for the girls' suffering. With Aunt Lydia also turning to God at the end and looking for guidance, she truly didn't know how to feel, and essentially allowed the girls that she cared about to do wrong in the eyes of God, knowing that blood would be on their hands. So her head is most definitely all over the place right now. If ever she needed a steak and a piece of fruit, it would be now. Serena and Commander Wharton. First off, what a wedding. It was the royalest of ceremonies and it looked absolutely stunning. One thing that really stood out to me with Serena and Wharton in this episode though is the contrast in Serena's face. When she was walking up the aisle, it was this, and then literally a few hours later, it was this, showing that she sadly fell for the charm of a commander once again. When Serena and Wharton got back home, we saw that Wharton showed his true colours for the first time, and it was no surprise to us, but it most definitely was to Serena as she broke down and wanted to leave, calling the marriage an abomination of one a mere hours after they said "I do." During the reception, Serena approached the handmaids and said how times would be different for them under her rule with Wharton, showing that she was of the progressive mindset and that she didn't want Gilead to be a place where handmaids were treated as they were before, even drawing a comparison to when June was her handmaid and how they were now friends. I'd argue that there was some kind of friendship between them, but outright saying that June forgave her for everything when in the previous episode June literally said that she didn't know if she ever could showed a sense of delusion for sure. I didn't know if these were just words from Serena, but with the way that she acted towards of Gabrielle by wanting her to be called Christina, the person who she actually was, and telling her to leave the house, it showed that there was truth and sincerity behind her not agreeing with the position of handmaids. Wharton showed that he was truly like Fred, and that he had it in him to be this violent traditional man of Gilead that kept Serena a prisoner in her own home. Saying things like, "Your place is here," and bringing a handmaid to their home on their first night, even though Serena was able to carry a child. It showed that he wasn't going to be agreeing with her ideas of progression and that they were on two different sides of the belief system. When Serena said that he'd never be a good husband because he was a commander, it marked an end to their relationship, and it could genuinely be one of the shortest marriages in existence. Serena left Wharton with Noah in hand, and I feel like she's most likely going to go to Commander Lawrence for some kind of comfort and support, as he seems to be there for her. This is where I think she'll most likely find out about the uprising and the potential threats that are on the way, and this will be where we'll see whose side she's truly on. My review of the episode. I thought this was a strong episode of the show, one of the best in the season. I loved how the first 10 minutes had barely any dialogue other than the monologue that June gave. It really leaned into the plan that was going on and that it was secretive. Seeing the handmaids choreographed walking in unison and the uniformed nature of them was just so nice to watch. Plus, the blood red of their outfits contrasting with the pure white snow laying on the ground during the dark night was just so nice on the eye. In terms of the wedding, I feel like I definitely would have liked to have seen more of it and for it to have been a bit more dramatic, but the grand royal nature of it was something that I definitely took away from it. That and the look that Naomi constantly had towards Serena. Commander Lawrence telling Naomi to eat more cake so he didn't have to deal with her at home was absolutely hilarious too. For me, the scene that stole the episode was the one between Aunt Lydia, June, Moira, and Janine. I honestly felt so emotional when watching it, and the music that was paired with it as Aunt Lydia's lip was quivering due to the weight of responsibility landing on her. It was just incredible to watch. Seeing her sitting there on the floor in the empty room wanting God to listen hit hard as well. In terms of performances, I actually think the strongest performance in this episode came from Serena. The emotion that she exhibited when she was confronting Commander Wharton was so easy to feel from her, and you could sense the pain that she was in and that she'd been fooled into believing that he was something that he wasn't, so it was impressive to see. With there only being 2 episodes left, I genuinely don't quite know where it's going to go from here. I imagine the army's going to come in and then from there we'll see the battle on the streets occur, which is what we were teased with in the trailer, so I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen. So, there you have it, The Handmaid's Tale Season 6, Episode 8, Ending Explained. If you want to see every episode of The Handmaid's Tale Season 6 being broken down, then check the playlist below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.